Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well and welcome to our Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 7 preview video. We are going to be discussing everything that we know about this episode, such as when it's going to be coming out with its release date, its start time, a recap of the previous episode, and what we know into the regards of the plot details for this episode. We also recently just discussed the runtime for this episode in a separate video here on the channel now, although we do know that this episode is going to clock in at around 50 minutes long, making it the second longest episode of The Mandalorian this season. And aside from that, this episode's already been streamed for exclusive attendees at Star Wars Celebration, so there is a number and a handful of people out there that have actually already seen this episode of The Mandalorian just about a week prior to when it's come out. That there being said, this video will not be discussing anything into the regards of different spoils and different leaks that we have for this episode. Before we hop into it, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and join us here today on the channel. We're talking and covering and discussing all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel, so if you guys are into any of it, join us here on the channel today by hitting that subscribe button. Anyway, in this video, we will be taking a read from Inverse.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. As a read, now that the issues of the Darksaber ownership and the Mandalorian leadership have finally been resolved in the previous episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, the final two episodes of The Mandalorian Season 3 promise some major drama. Plus, heading into The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 7, we know that at least one notable villain is set to appear, finally. I'll also be discussing a number of different theories kind of throughout this overall video, but more towards the end of the video, so stay tuned for that as well. Last week's cameo-filled episode mostly took a detour as Din Djarin and Bo-Katan solve crimes on an Outer Rim planet until the end of the episode when a big event for the Mandalorians took place, and thanks to a sneak peek of Episode 7 for fans at the recent Star Wars Celebration, there's actually some plot intel heading into the next installment. That there being said, when is this episode going to be releasing? Of course, on Wednesday at the time of recording this video, that there would be April 12th here at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, depending on your time zone, midnight for Pacific. And as I had also mentioned at the beginning of this video, the runtime for this episode we discussed and talked about already in a separate video here on the channel, but it will clock in at around 50 minutes long, as I had mentioned, making it the second longest episode of The Mandalorian this season. The other one had been the Dr. Pershing focused episode that was really just a lot of filler and a whole lot of not a lot of interesting things going on, to be transparent with you guys. So of course, hopefully this episode won't do the same. Now, into the regards of the previous episode though, episode 6, let's recap it. What happened with that episode there? In the episode's prologue, we meet a group of mercenary Mandalorians led by Axe Woofs, Bo-Katan's former ally, out on a for-hire mission to separate a pair of aquatic alien lovers traveling on Quarren freight ships. We then switch to Bo-Katan and Din Djarin on their way to an Outer Rim planet of Plazir 15 is the name of it, to find a said group of Mandalorians consisting of Axe Woofs and all of the previous Mandalorians that had originally been working with Bo-Katan, as we had learned in the second season of The Mandalorian, to help retake what once was Mandalore and to reestablish it. Now, upon arrival, Din and Bo are ushered into a dome-like city where we see a private dining event is being held by the planet's rulers, the Duchess of Plazir being played by Lizzo, and the Captain Bombardier being played by Jack Black. There's some cameos in this episode, as I had mentioned. And then also to clarify, the reason that they're kind of forced and like ushered to go see these people is because there's like this AI, like Star Wars stuff essentially, of where their ship is taken over and it forces them to land there to go meet with them. They need the Mandalorians pair's help to putting a stop to the malfunctioning battle droids as seen in the prequels that are wrecking havoc on their city, and in return they will be granted an audience with these Mandalorians outside of their city. So a little little bit of a filler going on with that. And after meeting with this Commissioner Head, being played by Christopher Lloyd, Mando and Bo set off on a NCIS-style detective mission across the city. Following leads and chasing down suspects, they visit up in a Ugnaught workshop, a droid morgue, and even a droid cantina. In the end, they discovered that the bad apple all along was the Commissioner himself, very remnants of Scooby-Doo. This had been because Christopher Lloyd's character had believed in a separatist agenda and highly agreed with what the separatists once stood for, all the way before the original trilogy, before the Galactic Civil War, and during the prequels with the Clone Wars. Anyway, since Bo and Din successfully solved the mystery and the trouble, they can now go speak with the group of mercenary Mandalorians that we finally see towards the end of the episode. Bo tells them that she's leading a mission to reunite their scattered people and to retake Mandalore. Axe Wolf doesn't think she has the authority to do that, so Bo challenges him to a duel of leadership. And so when it's pretty clear that she is destroying him in this duel, Axe brings up the issue of the Darksaber after being defeated by Bo. However, Din jumps in to say that the Darksaber actually does rightfully belong to Bo-Katan, since she had won it back from the creature that captured Din Djarin on Mandalore in the second episode of this season. And just like that, Bo-Katan is officially the leader finally. So moving on to and 4, with everything that we can expect to see into the regards of the plot of this episode, I did mention at the beginning of this video that I will not be discussing any of the different spoilers and leaks, as this episode had already been shown to attendees exclusively at Star Wars Celebration this past weekend, and of course people are going to talk about it and put out some spoilers and some leaks out there. We won't be discussing any of that. I've been lucky enough to dodge just about all of that. Not really purposely, I just haven't gone looking for it or anything like that. Until now, with recording this video, the article does mention some type of spoilers and leaks out there into the regards of the next episode of The Mandalorian, so this article is linked in the description down below that I had mentioned at the beginning of this video that does regard some of that stuff. So now with Bo-Katan being the leader officially of the Mandalorians and then also the rightful owner of the Darksaber as well, we'll finally see her take these Mandalorians, and this once was her people, her creed, the Night Owls, back to Navarro where we have the Children of the Watch, as the armor had sent Bo-Katan off originally to go find other Mandalorians and to bring them back to their home on Navarro. So this is exactly what I think that we'll see with Bo-Katan doing in the next episode of The Mandalorian. I think that's going to play a lot into it. I also am heavy on the belief that we'll see Moff Gideon finally and have something into the regards with him. An actual scene maybe, hopefully, more references of maybe what he might be up to, and maybe see him in the finale finally. This overall season has heavily reminded me about season 1 and what it was. There wasn't exactly like a main villain all that much until the end of the season, and it was really just Grogu and Mando trying to survive, and that's kind of what we've seen throughout this season. And that it definitely isn't a bad thing. Now, one theory I just put out here on the channel, it's also on our TikTok page linked in the description down below, but it has to do with what Axe Wolves and these Mandalorian mercenaries have been up to. They're essentially like bounty hunters that we see in the previous episode at the beginning. They're kind of just off doing these missions for anybody and anybody that's willing to pay them the right price. So maybe my theory goes is that maybe these are the Mandalorians that had actually broken Moff Gideon out of the New Republic. It's a theory. It's a likely theory, I think, at that, although it's not the best theory. I would love to see Mandalorians. I've discussed this time in and time out here on the channel into the regards of The Mandalorian Season 3 and explaining it and breaking down what we saw at the end of that episode with the reveal that Moff Gideon has been broken out of the New Republic. I would love to see Imperial Mandos, or also known as Mandalorians. Anyway, I want to know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Your theories, your thoughts. What do you guys think about this all in the comments down below? What are you guys hoping to see in the next episode of The Mandalorian and see this overall show go here with the season here? I've heard a lot of great things about this episode. I'm hearing that it's the best episode yet, and that it's very theatrical. It's very high quality at that there as well. So I'm beyond over the moon to see it. I would love to hear what you guys all think in the comments down below. And so until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out. So in the previous episode of The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 7, featured Axe Wolves and the rest of the Mandalorians that had been working previously before with Bo-Katan. That episode was titled Guns for Hire, clear. And so as we see, what these Mandalorians are doing is that they're pretty much just bounty hunters, looking for whoever will pay them and do jobs for them. And so my theory is that I believe that these are the same Mandalorians that broke Moff Gideon out of the New Republic, as they seem to be kind of just doing jobs for anybody that was willing to pay enough for them. But that's just a Star Wars theory, and we'll see more about this in the final 2 episodes of The Mandalorian.